So, seemingly, we have got the lineup for Money in the Bank, the men's ladder match. You can see that all 6 spaces have now been filled. So, Ricochet, LA Knight, Santos Escobar, Damien Priest, Butch, and Shinsuke Nakamura. So, I thought what we would do is, because this is now seemingly finalized, and of course, they could always add an extra person. There are a few thoughts out there that Logan Paul could be added, or Bronson Reed, because Bronson's involved in a few feuds at the moment. He's involved in a feud with Ricochet and is feuding with Nakamura. So it could be that Bronson gets added, or maybe he just makes his presence felt in this match, because I think that's a very real possibility. But Logan Paul is also thought that he could be added, because Logan winning this would sadly make a lot of sense. I say sadly because I would much rather it be someone that's here week in, week out, that's a proper full-time WWE superstar. I know Logan has got a contract, but he does only tend to show up a few times a year. And so giving him Money in the Bank, he could have it on his podcast. He'd be ready to cash in at the next pay-per-view whenever he's going to show up. So, you know, it would make sense in that regard. It's not the direction I want to go, but there is a chance of that. But let's say that they don't add Logan, and let's say that they don't add Bronson, and that this is the final lineup. I thought it might be fun to just go through them and talk about their chances. So, first of all, for me, Ricochet, I think he's only been added because of his high-flying ability. I think that Ricochet is very credible, very experienced, deserves a push, momentum, but he's just never quite been seen at that level. Obviously, under Triple H, we could definitely pull the trigger on him, but I feel like he's probably only in this because of his aerial skills and the things that he would be able to do coming off the ladder and flying in the air. So for me, I think out of all the options, he might be the least likely to win. Then we've got LA Knight. Now, LA Knight's really interesting because seemingly WWE didn't have massive plans for him. Obviously, he came in as Max Dupree. Then he went into the feud with Bray. Whilst he was in that feud with Bray, the crowd were with Bray. I mean, it's really only the time around the Royal Rumble where we start to hear LA Knight get in some fan support. And then I think it's really been him not being utilized, not being at WrestleMania, not being at Backlash. I don't even believe he was at Night of Champions. I think he was. I think he was just shown in the crowds. I think it's the fact that he's being overlooked, which actually is fueled like how much the crowd are desperate to see him. I think like he has managed to get over. Of course, he's massively over. He's getting great crowd reactions. But I do also think that the fact that he's not been put on the big pay-per-views does make fans feel like he's been overlooked. WWE have listened to that, took that on board. He's now part of this match. So it's really hard to know now, are WWE willing to pull the trigger and put Money in the Bank on him? Do they see him being the next Money in the Bank briefcase holder, potentially cashing in for a world title? Or are they still not quite ready to go that far? Don't forget, this is a guy that wasn't at WrestleMania, wasn't at Backlash, wasn't at Night of Champions. I mean, for him to now all of a sudden win Money in the Bank, that would seem like quite a jump out of nowhere. He is coming in with crowd support, but has he got the support of the WWE office? They certainly can't ignore or can't have heard all the chanting for him. So I think he is one of the favorites. I think he is an interesting option. I think that we absolutely could go that way, but I don't know that WWE are ready to pull that trigger, considering they didn't even get him on the WrestleMania card, as we said. Then you got Santos Escobar. He's quite interesting because he is sort of the leader of LWO. Rey Mysterio, of course, is part of that group as well. But Santos Escobar really could be built up to be like the Rey replacement. I know he's not masked, but he is on the smaller side, if you will. Maybe not as small as Rey, but still not the biggest of wrestlers. He's certainly not Brock Lesnar. And he represents the Latino community. LWO, I think, are a very credible group. Him with that Money in the Bank briefcase would bring some more legitimacy to that group. That's not the worst direction to go in. I would say that they maybe just lack a little bit of momentum. They had quite a bit around Backlash, but it seems to have just settled down since. So again, I don't know. I don't know that he's coming in with loads of momentum here. I would say him winning is unlikely. I don't have him amongst the favorites, but you could go in that direction. Then you've got Damien Priest, who is at the front of the graphic. He is someone that's been in Judgment Day. He's been used in some big stories. Obviously, Judgment Day, feuding with Edge. You know, he's been around on the main roster for a while. He's quite tall as well. He's quite big. He is seemingly getting ready, by the looks of it, to either break out from the Judgment Day or maybe take over from Finn in the Judgment Day. There's been some seeds planted between these two of there being a little bit of difficulties, a bit of tension. So we could absolutely pull the trigger here on Damien Priest. I think he is amongst the favorites. I could see him with that briefcase, and who knows, by the time he cashes it in, Finn could even be champion. That was referenced on Raw tonight with Finn asking Damien, if you had the briefcase and I had the championship, you wouldn't cash in, would you? Damien said no, but it could be very different if he's actually in that position. So I would say he is amongst the favorites as well here. Sadly, I would love to see Butch get this, but I think Butch is only in this because we're in London. Obviously, Butch is from England. He's from Birmingham. And I love Pete Dunne, the Bruiserweight, absolutely brilliant. I think we need to change the name back to Pete Dunne. I think we need to sort of evolve this Butch character. We need to change the name, as we said. I would love to see Pete Dunne be a genuine contender to win this. I just don't think he is. I think he's only in this because we're in London. Very similar to how we saw Zelina Vega competing for the title at Backlash. You know, here we are seeing Butch competing for the briefcase in England. So I'm going to say he's unlikely, but I would love for him to do it. If I could handpick someone to win it, I would pick Butch. And then the final one is the one that I think has got maybe the best chance of winning, and that is Shinsuke. Yeah, the reason why I say this is because Shinsuke is a former IWGP champion in New Japan. He's a former NXT champion, competed for the championship against AJ going back quite a few years now. I think that was like WrestleMania 34. And so it's been a while since Shinsuke's been at that level. He was away for a long time. We've brought him back. Apparently, Triple H really likes him, sees big things for him. You know, Shinsuke with that briefcase, I think would make a lot of sense. So I think that if you was to do a poll and ask the fans, I feel like probably, certainly if you was doing this on Twitter, LA Knight would win that poll. I'm just not sure that the office is behind LA Knight. Damien Priest, I think, is very interesting. Certainly with what's happening with Finn Balor at the moment. Whether we need to put the briefcase on him, though, you know, because we can take this story in so many different directions. He doesn't have to have the briefcase, but I would say he is a favorite. And then Shinsuke, who apparently is rumored to be having a push this year. He's rumored to be having a big year and is someone that Triple H really likes. I think coming into this, Shinsuke is the one I'm looking at. I think I've got Shinsuke, then Damien Priest, then LA Knight. Those would be my top three. I just wonder about LA Knight if the crowd support is going to mean that he jumps above Priest and jumps above Shinsuke. It could be that the noise that the fans are making changes those plans. So LA Knight is definitely in the running. I think Damien Priest is in the running. I think Shinsuke's in the running. The other three, Not so sure.